Welcome back, YouTube. So in this video, obviously, I'm going to be talking about my 2025 price targets, but I'm also going to make a case for a late run or a longer run here. We're going to take a look at some history here to kind of give you an idea, because typically, yes, we do have the peak to possibly have it toward the end of Q1, even Q2 around like May or June. But we're going to take a look here at what just happened this previous year and also on some previous cycles to kind of get an idea of some things that we can expect possibly for this year. So overall, I want to give an update first here, but I will say, I'll go ahead and say with Dogecoin, I have not moved my price target. As you guys know, I made a few videos about a year ago, and I was talking about, I believe we have the possibility of getting to like $1.40 or so. I believe it's in that price target. The last one I looked at was on the it's in the thumbnail. I'll see if I can find one of the older ones, but I know it's from about 9 months ago. So I have not changed that. It has not wavered at all. I don't have a reason to do so yet. So I know this has been a very common question: is have I moved the marker or the goalpost? And the answer is no, I have not as of yet. So I'm still feeling pretty confident in those numbers. And I still feel pretty confident that Bitcoin has a lot more gas in the tank. So that's going to ultimately drive more liquidity into the market. So I believe that some of that will be received by Dogecoin. So I don't have a reason to move it down. Where we are looking at now, like if you watched the video from yesterday, we're talking about waiting on this confirmation candle to see if we're going to break back into the zone here, to see if we can reclaim some of the price action here from this gap down, or this gap zone, shall I say. If just a brief recap, once we break above this fib line here, get around that 14-day moving average, which is this yellow line, this has historically been, for the last 3 times we've been here, it's been a gap zone, whether that's been to the upside or to the downside. So on the 7th, it was to the downside, the 3rd to the upside, the 19th to the down, and what is this? The 11th of November, it's been to the upside. So this is one of the things that we've been looking for, because this can put us in position to go and retest that 40-cent mark. Now, the 40 cents mark isn't the end all be all. Obviously, the Achilles heel that has been for Dogecoin retesting some of these cycle highs has been around 42 cents. But it will give us an opportunity here to run retest here. So ultimately, we closed above this marker here on the 11th. And so what we're waiting for is to see if we're going to get the confirmation candle today, where this candle closes. But as of today, we're seeing very minimal price action, even less. I'll say this is the least amount of volume that we've had here probably in the last 4 or 5 days. So it looks like we'll probably just rest here on the fib line, which is fine. We can certainly pick things up tomorrow and Monday. Typically, we'll have more volume on Mondays anyway. So we can certainly pick up and do like a retest around then. But ultimately, right now, it's looking like we're going to have very minimal price action, and we're actually going to rest slightly below where we closed on the 11th and not get the confirmation candle. So that's something we're going to watch going into Monday and Tuesday, to kind of get an idea of trend and ultimately see if we're going to be able to get some more momentum here to push up inside of this zone here. So another thing that we're looking for is while we're at the top of this zone, as you guys know, if we break below it, we're back into our major liquidity pool, which has been the case since December 19th. And we've been pretty much going in between 30 and 33 cents. So if we had to grab more liquidity, not the end of the world, but I will say we did just come out of the zone. And typically when we retest, it's possible that we can get rejected from this 33 cents mark. You can take a look here at December 25th, Christmas Day. That's precisely what happened. We came down to around the 30-cent mark. We're able to grab liquidity inside this zone. Remember, we were talking about the swing traders and praying for this deep pullback here so that they can exit around 33 cents. And so what happened is we were able to reach down to pull liquidity around 30 cents, and we went to go retest at around 33 cents, right at this top fib level, and we got rejected, right? And so we came back down to around 30 cents, and then that's when we were able to get the liquidity to break out again. So we are resting right here on this zone. Is it going to be a repeat of Christmas Day? too early to call it right now, but just letting you guys know it is a possibility. But it also can be a day where we can have a big push up, because we've had volume where we were able to run to around 35 cents. But again, remember the swing zone, the trading and the pushing back and the selling, we're able to, that's why we got this really long wick to the upside here. But I believe that if we got this run, we'd probably just go ahead and close into this zone, because I also believe a lot of the reason why we got this huge sell-off at around 35 cents is because a lot of the swing traders were able to buy it around 26 cents. So they were profiting around 10 cents per coin at this point, and they were going to sell. So you have this really long wick to the downside here for Dogecoin. And then the immediate next candle on the daily was a long wick to the upside. So I do believe that was just a big swap. So if we did get this break into this zone here, I don't believe it's likely we'll repeat it. But I did want to point it out to you guys, just so you guys can know that it is a possibility. So let's take a look here at Bitcoin. So right here, and you can see it's been reciprocated across the board. It's not just Doge, low volume here for Bitcoin today as well. But we're still using that 72-day. That's this orange line here as support, and we're still chugging along in between the 72 and the 14. So this is going to be a really big indicator going forward here, because these lines, the 72 and the 14, they're going to begin to tighten, and we're going to have a break one direction or another. But as we talked about, as long as we are above that 90,000 mark, we're going to be able to, historically, since what is this, November, last couple of months, we've been able to grab liquidity here and do some retests at some of these higher markers here. Again, 96,000 is the marker that we're looking for, typically when we have enough strength to go do a retest at that 98 to 100. Not quite there yet, but we should certainly get there relatively soon if we're going to continue using the 72 as support, because right now we have the 14 pretty much flattening. The 72 is still going to rise, and we can pretty much have a consolidation between these two. And at that point, definitely a decision will be made between whether we're going to have like a slight dip down and get a golden cross to the upside, or or if it'll signal a death cross to the downside. Again, it doesn't have to be really aggressive, because you can see that. I'm going to jump back to Doge. So I can prove a point here. Let's go to Binance. So you kind of see that here. You have the 14, notice this on January 6th, dipping below the 72, which is like, oh, it's a death cross, but definitely not a clean cut. And now they're kind of like merging and running parallel. So you can kind of have, not saying that we didn't see a price drop, but it wasn't like a clean cut, like it's falling through the floor or something like that. We simply just went down to our normal liquidity pool, which is where we technically were where we already were anyway, just because it took so long for the 72 to catch up, because we had this explosive price action. So we went down. So, and we've already established where our liquidity pool is at, which is working in our favor. So now you're seeing that consolidation there. So it's not necessarily a clean cut, but we can certainly have this parallel movement and then look for the indication of the 72 or the 14 crossing the 72 again and indicating that run back to the upside. So that's something that we can potentially see with Bitcoin as well. And we can this is obviously maybe like a week or so out, but this is something we could potentially see with Bitcoin as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's a case where we could continue to see some parallel movement like we've seen for the last 2 months with Bitcoin. So, and that leads me into my point as far as for 2025 projections here. I still believe that Bitcoin can easily add another 100K to its current price position. So I don't believe any of these coins are near their peak cycles, but I want to point out that we could see this run or this cycle last for the majority of this year. And I want to flip over to a different chart here, because I wanted to point this out. So this is going to give you an idea of, as far as for price points, right? Let's go to all. This is for Bitcoin, right? So if we're looking at highs and peaks, right? So right here, we have what is this, 2018? I want to point this out here because we can see that we peaked around what month? What, December, right? And we can certainly see like different cycles here, 2020, different periods where we had bigger runs around like the February, March, April. I say Q1, late Q1, early Q2 marks. But you can also see that, hey, 2021, what was this, April, right? We came back in November and invested it, right? So this is a later run that year, November. So we're talking about Q4 here, right? And then we see something similar in it's almost like a similar pattern here between 2021 and what just happened, which was we ran earlier in the year, April, to around 69,579. Excuse me, let me pull out some of these price points too for those of you who aren't looking. So I was referring to back in April 2021, we ran to around 62,237. And then in November of 2021, we came back and invested it at 65,543. And what I'm saying is April of this year, we ran to around 67,000, right? And then we had a run in December, going up to, around 100K, right? And then in January, obviously, we vested it. We went into the 6-figure mark. So I was making the case is that we're seeing a combination of runs between that Q1, Q2 mark, and definitely in Q4 and around November. And I wanted to put this out there that obviously this is going to be something we're going to have to watch, especially around Q1, Q2 to see like price action. But it does not eliminate the probability that we could see the bulk of this run or that bigger rally later in the year. So I wanted to put that out there to let you guys know, because it's I'm not gonna say it's improbable, but it has happened. And when I say it has happened, it's happened on multiple occasions. So it's something that we can certainly look for, because obviously when that liquidity is coming in, when the market's running, and especially at these prices here, crypto kind of takes over the news. So I think that this can be like a domino effect for most of crypto. So we use Bitcoin to measure the cycle and get an idea of the feel of the market. So I wanted to put that out there, that I think that we can potentially see a peak price action around like Q4. I'm expecting a move. I'm not using that to negate that. I'm expecting a move Q1, Q2. And that's kind of going to let me know how on track we are. So I'm certainly going to be expecting some retesting here going on in the next few months, and that we'll do an update, right, to kind of see how we're lining up with previous trends. Maybe do a chart over chart comparison, and we can do an update to kind of see where we're ultimately where we're headed, and see how much of an alignment we are. But I wanted to point that out because I think that we can potentially have that that later run here. Let's take a look at CoinMarketCap really quick. And then we'll take a look at shorts and longs and see if anything has changed. Yesterday we were creeping up on around 77% long for Doge, compared to around 23% for short. So we're getting into that range here where things typically start to push. Fear Greed 48 still relatively neutral. Total market cap down 0.43%. On the day, XRP still holding on the 7 days for the greens, but everyone else is red. Let's see here. On the 7 day, 3.69% for Bitcoin. This is down, by the way. Ethereum 9.676. XRP is the only green I'm seeing right now, 5.87. Doge down 11.32. Cardano down 9.99. Yeah, so right now, the only divergence that we're seeing here in the top 10 is going to be XRP. So like we talked about yesterday, depending on where that volume is coming from, especially if it's retail, that's going to be something to watch. Because at points when you are, I know it was really big during the last cycle here, people were like, oh, hold, eventually turns into don't sell before I do. So keep that in mind here. If this is completely retail, and this isn't, because it's not a tremendous amount of volume, but it's certainly notable, especially for, let's see, 6 billion is, let's say, yeah, because it's more than double. Outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum, the next competitor would be, no, not even that, because we're talking about stable coins. So yes, so we're talking about a huge amount of money going into these assets here. So if this is institutional money coming in, then obviously this is going to be building a strong floor for XRP. But just kind of keep that in mind what the allocation is. But it's when you're comparing 24-hour volume. Again, this is buys and sells. Well, obviously this is green, so it's been mostly buys. That's a huge amount of volume going into XRP, especially if you compare it to any of the coins besides Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the stable coins. It's about six times what you're looking at from any of the other coins, because Doge has 1.5, Solana has around 1.5. Cardano 1.2, and Tron better get his stuff together, otherwise it's not going to be in top 10 much longer. But yeah, certainly a something to watch here for XRP. Let's take a look at. I want to just make sure. All right. So for those liquidations here, 2 to 1.4. So we have got an update from yesterday. Oh, let's see here. Let's do long short ratio, see the difference. No, still hanging on mostly to that above 76% for long short statistics here. So again, once we get around like that 78%, that's when we actually start dominating. So that's another one of the indicators that we can kind of use to kind of co-witness the price movement to the upside. So right now we're looking at the 76.23, which is a bump up, because normally we're looking around 75.25. I know it doesn't sound like much, but these percentages, that 1 to 4% in the 70% range, it makes a huge difference here between price action and being like an indicator here. So for those of you looking, I'm talking about the 5, 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, and 1 day. For the most part, we're looking at 76% to 23%, or about 3 to 1 ratio, basically over 3 to 1, about 3.18. Looks like on average, the 5 minute, 30 minute, and 1 hour, all 3.18 to short ratio. So we are headed in the right direction here. It's a slight cool off from yesterday, but again, we have very minimal price action across the board. So that's not a Doge thing. This is a crypto thing. So just kind of carrying over that price action that we saw from the 11th. So not much movement here. Open interest, that's still up at around 0.17%. 1.9 billion. Again, the target that we're looking for those bigger pushes is around 4 billion in open interest. So another one of those things that we're going to use to co-witness price action here. So not the big movement for open interest, but certainly we're headed in the right direction. But again, we'll have more clear directions once we get some bigger price movements, and I believe we'll have some more defining candles on Monday and Tuesday compared to today, because we just took a look at the charts and it's very minimal movement. So not a Doge thing. So with that being said, I want to make sure I covered the bases here. So I do believe that we're still have room for at least another 100K going into Bitcoin's price action. So putting it somewhere around like 200. I still believe we can get to around like $1.40 for Doge. And I'm opening up the case for just for us to kind of track it here on the channel, that we can have that run till later in the year. But obviously we'll be comparing it over the next few months here for Q1 to Q2. But I did want to open the possibility that we've seen that it's possible that these assets can run later in the year or throughout the year and get like a bump, like maybe around like May, June. And also that November, December market has been very crucial as well. So we'll do a chart over chart and can compare it, because I think it's something worth following. So Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know if you believe that we're going to max out Q1, Q2, or if we're going to have some continuous runs here and possibly peak around Q4. I think I'll make that the polling question. If you found value, please consider subscribing to the channel. Like, share the video. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you guys in the next one.